Howdy folks, Darren Ray Fonso here, and we're talking about workers' compensation, or labor and industries as we call it here in the state of Washington. Tonight's topic is going to be me calling out Washington State Berniecrat, or the guy who runs our Washington State, our Revolution Berniecrats coalition, is Tyler Vega. And Jason, Colin, David Strider, and all those other ones. But basically, I'm calling out to Tyler Vega, who runs the whole crew, and asking why it is I'm told that our Berniecrats and the Democrats and liberal left, basically, we can't fight for the minimum federal oversight that Senator Sanders told us we need, because your people's logic is that because Republicans are in administration is control, you fear it won't make it through. Yet, in your next breath, Tyler Vega, you tell me and Larry Elger and David Strider tell me to vote for Scott Stefani, a Republican, log cabin Republican, for now he's running for Attorney General. So I want to know, Tyler Vega and our Revolution Washington State Progressive Democrats, why is it that you can tell the injured workers of America that you can't help us get our federal oversight that Senator Sanders said we needed as of 2015, and that the United States Congressional Service, as research services, a nonpartisan service, is also telling us that we need here in 2019. So for 5 years, you've all felt America's injured workers needing this minimum federal oversight with complicit, arrogant silence. And I want to know why and when I ask why, you say, well, gee, Darren, we have to fear those Republicans. Trump's in charge. There's a Republican administration. We could never get that federal oversight. But please form L&I. Is that some people that was standing up fighting for the 400 injured farm workers here in Washington State, and that is great. Kudos for that, but you only want a state fix. You don't want to help us and put on those signs, we need a federal fix. So you want state fixes, but not our federal fix on the table, and yet Reform L&I says the same thing to me, and Dr. Arrhenius, who was helping a part of all that. Dr. Arrhenius, too, laughed at me with, gee, Darren, you can never get it. You can never get that federal oversight. Well, Reform L&I also says that, gee, Darren, you can't get your federal oversight because you have to fear that Trump and those Republicans being in charge right now. Yet, in the next breath, he tells me to also vote for some Republican for governor. Something's not right about that. When people who claim to be fighting for the injured workers say that we can only get a state fix, that's all we can do, and we can't talk about your needed federal oversight as we're fighting for that state fix at the same time. It's become egregious. The people screaming for state fixes and Medicare for all are screaming louder than the injured workers who can scream for our needed minimum federal oversight to have it on the table. Open fight for Senator Sanders' minimum federal oversight he told us we needed for 5 years now, and like I say, the U.S. Congressional Research Service is also now telling us we need in 2019. You can't pick up that fight because you fear you will lose that fight because Republican administrations in control, yet you tell me to vote for Scott Stefani, who's an expert competent and a great man. There's something wrong with that. We're failing America's injured workers because my own liberal left won't stand up and fight for us and our needed minimum federal oversight, and they use the other side as an excuse for not doing it, which is egregious at this point. For either side to tell us it's not doable or it's something that's not needed. Because, like I say, the U.S. Congressional Research Service is also telling us we need it. So when the United States Congressional Research think tank that the federal money was spent on from both sides got together and said we need this minimum federal oversight, but Tyler Vega and Gigi Ferguson and David Strider and who else is running? Jason for Congress, or call for Congress. All these people can't get honest about the needed minimum federal oversight. Not do they only not get honest about it, they keep making excuses excuses and justifications for not standing up and fighting for us for the last 5 years or for the next 5 years, for that matter. If you remain silent as injured workers are harmed and you don't speak up about the needed minimum federal oversight, then you're not being strategic or politically affluent or I don't know what it is, politically savvy that you all intellectual snobs think you all are. Jason Call, Tyler Vega, the whole crew, the whole David Strider, Bizman Larry Alger. You're being led around by small businessmen by the freaking nose while you failed to stand up and fight for the injured workers' minimum federal oversight in America. It's frustrating this time. I see we got one viewer. I'm not sure who that is, but howdy. I don't know how it works. I thought you might be able to comment back and forth here. I was trying to do a live video, and I'm thinking about starting to go and doing a YouTube live, a live deal where maybe people can call in, and I'll chat back and forth with them a little bit that way. I don't want to do it too much to where it's injured workers seeking individual advice, because I couldn't give people individual advice. Only I know that I fought back and it was hard to do, and I couldn't explain how I did it to you again all over again. It's complex. You need a lawyer, but we can't get them. So many of us get forced to be our own lawyers and get driven insane in the process. And most of the people following me know that. And that's what pisses me off even more, when I've got my own liver left and Tyler Vega and Jason Call for Congress can call me crazy, but they can't stand up and fight for the minimum federal oversight. Senator Sanders told us we need. There is something not right with that. There's not, like I say, it's not being strategically smart. No, what you are is a bunch of eggheads who think you're smarter than everybody else, who are trying to get us to do the will of the small businessman here in the state of Washington, that's for sure, and across America, if you won't stand up and fight for the minimum federal oversight. It's egregious at this point that we have people running for office telling us, gee, Jared, like Uphill Progressive Media out of Portland did, and their gang. I asked them specifically and got a video of it. They tell us, they come right out, gee, Tyler Vega can't get on us about it. If he gets on us, we can't get him. First, we got to get him in. Then we can work on that. First, we got to get him in, is what they tell me. Yet, Pramila Jayapal, we've gotten her into the House here in the state of Washington or whatever, and then moved her on to U.S. Congress in this whole process, yet she has chosen not to be honest, has been silent about this ever since. And she even at one point had her people tell me, gee, Darren, I support that minimum federal oversight that Senator Sanders says we need. But she won't mouth that out in public. No. This is wrong. When our political leaders will not stand up and represent America's injured workers with the needed minimum federal oversight, as they all run with their signs for Medicare for all, or whatever else it is, the state fix that they're wanting to get, or abolish or comp altogether. I think that's what Reform LNI would like to do, just reform it altogether and not even have it. That's not helping our injured workers. What we need, besides state fixes, is a minimum federal oversight. And if Washington State is so great and treating their workers so well, they would have no fear of some minimum federal oversight. Why not adhere to what other people would be forced to adhere to stand up and abide and treat their workers right? So to use all these excuses is a betrayal to America's injured workers at this point, for the Berniecrats of the state of Washington to not stand up and represent us, and for Tyler Vega and Jason Call for Congress, who can, like I said, can come right out and say, what is he? Oh, you're unhinged, as he cannot even stand up and fight for us. And like I said, he said, oh, you want to put your, what was it? Oh, he says, I wanted him to drop all his Medicare for all issue and his single payer I-1600 single fix in Washington State fix. That was his priorities. It seems his priorities are also the same priorities of the Latino Civic Alliance bizman as well. And Reform LNI seems to be signing off on this as well, when you don't stand up and fight for the minimum federal oversight for all of America's injured workers, amigo. Yeah, it's really frustrating for America's injured workers when the liberal left won't stand up and fight for us here in the state of Washington. What we need is injured workers unite around needed federal oversight. State fixes are great, yes, but they're not helping as a whole class. And you're not uniting around us. You're not, when you mouth the word or you tell me, gee, yeah, I'm for federal oversight, and the next line you tell me, but I don't think we can get it. Then you're a snob and you're an arrogant biz sellout whore, as far as I'm concerned, because anybody who isn't standing up and fighting for America's federal oversight at this point, when we've been told that we need it from the United States Congressional Research Service, nonpartisan. And so it's egregious at this point, and it adds insult and harm to my mental health as well. And now this other injured worker who is often a myth and trying to close me out and burn down my site and try to silence that Darren because he's a fucking misogynist or something she calls me. That's bullshit. Ask my wife. I might be a sexist to a certain degree, only since we got married, and that was what our arrangement has kind of been for 15 years. But she knows that, and also 15 years at the hospital bedside, taking care of men and women. I was never like this before this, and that's why it's disgusting to me that this other injured worker will step up and say because I called her a biz whore, that she's going to shut down and burn down my whole Facebook page and our revolution and my R Broken Workers Comp Facebook page that I've had for before I even met this lady. I've had the page going for 5 years at least, and I can't even recall, maybe more. So it's egregious that this woman leaves my group and has to burn it down because every comment and everything that was ever made on that website that was shared with others, and which a lot of them were politicians. Get this through your head. A lot of them were politicians. Some of them were probably cops following me. Some of them probably federal officers following me. But they're learning from me. Those 300 people that this injured worker chose to close out because she wants just me silenced and my group shut down, she's closing out all those other people who were learning, and whether they didn't like my voice, they were hearing my message. And they weren't trying to distract from my message with other state fixes or other court cases. They were trying to get my federal fix heard. Anyways, it's just frustrating. I don't know how any injured worker in America can tolerate this at this point. We have our federal government saying our 33 of our states are failing injured workers. And so if you're in one of those 33 states and you're being jammed up and put through hell and waiting on state lawmakers to change your system, they might step up and be helping one of your states, but they're not helping those other 32 states, then there's something wrong with that. You don't just bow down and say, oh, thanks you, Sarah. You gave us some crumbs in one state, but you're failing all of us across the nation. It's not baby steps. It's not a stepping stone to something bigger that you're going to help us with. Yes, it's good, and it will help and give some injured workers in the state of work some very needed relief. Yet to use that as just a distraction and not keep the heat on those same state lawmakers for failing to get honest about this needing to be done on a federal level as well. If these state lawmakers are so willing to help injured workers, they would not care about also calling for this on a federal oversight if their intent was to truly help us all. I don't know what to do anymore. I really don't. And it's frustrating when I have other injured workers trying to silence me because they want their state fix and they don't want me yelling for a federal fix. And they even come right out and say, like, who is it? What's the one lady? Ellen? Oh, gosh. The Amazon injured worker, Shannon Allen. She come to my broken workers' comp and left in a huff because, gee, Darren, all you want to harp on is federal oversight. Yeah, young ladies. It's because that's what we need. That's what injured workers advocates have been fighting for since 1972. I don't care if it's Bernie or if it's Trump or who's in office. Injured workers have needed this since 1972, and to use either side as an excuse or both of you to use each other's as excuses for failing to stand up and fight for America's injured workers is egregious at this time. And I'm just, I don't know what to do. Like I say, I think about maybe trying to start some kind of live YouTube, Facebook page and get my word out that way, because Facebook wasn't really doing it anyways. That's all you end up doing is arguing with other injured workers back and forth. Half of them want federal oversight, the other ones don't. Half of them don't know their ass from the hole in fucking ground. They're listening to people who never prevailed at anything in their goddamn claims, and it's just misinformation. And then when somebody tries to come through with the truth, they all want you to be silent. So shut up. No, you're crazy. Like I say, it's the same MO that they play on us injured workers, call us crazy. You're not telling the truth. Well, that's what these people who want state fixes but tell us, oh, no, you can't get your federal fix are doing. You're calling us crazy and saying it's not doable. It's the same scenario. It's the same MO. My MO has not changed in 5 years, actually more like 8 years. My MO and my story and my facts have remained the same for the whole freaking time I've been at this. And I have nothing to gain at this point. I've gotten everything that they could give you as far as being rewarded something. Pension, that's all you can get. You don't really get a windfall. So that's why it's such an unjust the whole deal, but that's the whole nother story. So I have nothing to gain from crying for minimum federal oversight, except for the fact that we've been needing it, and injured workers advocates have called for it since 1972, when my father was injured on the job, when I was 7 years old, actually in 1976, I think it was. It was a bicentennial year. And he had to fight workers' comp and the SSDI system for almost 9 years, I believe it was, before he finally, all he prevailed in was his SSDI. For $1,200 a month, I think he got back then, which was much, but it was better than nothing back then for him. Yeah. We've needed it since I was a child when I was 7 years old, which involved my father's arm almost being amputated and blood all over the walls that I was witnessed as a child. So, yes, I may be touched a little bit. And then besides that, I go through this same hell for 9 years when I grow up as an adult and get injured on the job. Who was an ace worker before I got hurt. And everybody loved me before that. I was happily and taking care of a patient care technician, talking to female patients and whatever, female patients, male patients, all of them, with no disrespect, no fuck yous, no whores. I did my job and I did it well and I treated everybody the same no matter what walk of life they were from, whether they were Democrat, Republican, or fucking Berniecrat. None of that mattered. But yet when I got harmed and injured on the job, none of those people are there for any of us. Any of them. Look at, some of the longtime workers, the injured workers advocates. They've been at it for 30 years. The Democrats won't help them and neither will the goddamn Republicans. Neither side will step up and fight and tell us what we fucking need. And I'm sorry, I was trying not to cuss on this one. It's really hard not to. And it's egregious for me to see this other injured worker leave all huffy because I said, well, gee, the state Washington fix that we're getting now, which is a good fix, maybe if we get it, but it's also being stuck with an amendment in there that may give the self-insurers a little more control. If they end up putting that amendment in there with it, then it was all bullshit. It was just crumbs, and it's nice that we'll get some of that, but we're also going to get some, the self-insurers would get more control, which is something we need to avoid. But anyways, it's just frustrating. Like I said, I was hurt, and then my father was hurt when I was a kid, and then also during my 9-year battle that I had, my father-in-law got hurt on the job at the age of 62 and had his toe amputated off and had to go through almost 2 years of hell before they sent him back to work to climb ladders at Walmart, and the private insurer worked him to death. And the state of Washington knows that happened. They looked into it too, and they couldn't really prove that they worked anybody to death, but all the doctors involved, the HMOs and the IMEs and his private care providers were all working to put that injured worker back to work to climb ladders instead of telling him the truth that the harm that it had done to him because of his pre-existing diabetic conditions was leading to complications that were life-threatening for him and actually life-ending for him, and that he needed to go home and work on his affairs and get his life-ending affairs in order instead of trying to send him to climb ladders at freaking Walmart. So me, my father, or stepfather when I was a kid, but anyways, he was my only father I ever had, basically. And then my father-in-law. So it's just frustrating to me as I'm reaching out for help for what I know that has harmed my family generationally now. Institutional and social betrayal, something like that. Some of my mental health therapists have called it generational, institutional, and social betrayal. So when this has affected not just me, And when I helped my father-in-law on an appeal. I was kind of forced into the deal, but I tried to do my best for him that I could. I probably should have done better. But I did prove that they were trying to cheat him out of 10K for his amputated toe. And after doing so, the doctors that were trying to cheat him get not even a slap on the hand for dirt parts and trying to work a man to death and cheat him out of a 10K PPD award that they all knew he had coming under Washington state law, but chose to make him fight through an appeal to get his rights honored. And that was healthcare providers all conspiring and working to harm somebody instead of help someone. And so it's egregious to me when we need some federal oversight and some teeth from a federal oversight here. When I'm told by Senator Sanders that that's what we need, I'm told by Patty Murray that that's what we need. I'm told by what's this guy out of Ohio, Senator Brown out of Ohio, that we need this federal oversight. I don't know what more we can say when everybody is telling us we need this, and yet no one on our side will put it on our table. I keep saying, well, it's the other side. Fear the Republican. We can't do it right now because we got a Republican administration. That doesn't mean you can't put it up there and educate people. So at the point when you have the other side, and that's the whole point. That's the other thing here. It doesn't matter who's in charge. They will come and go throughout the decades and generations. The people who are in control will come and go. But us injured workers will still need our federal oversight, the same federal oversight we've needed since 1972. We needed it again in 2009 when Senator Baca told us we needed it. But it got voted down, or it didn't get voted on. I don't know whatever happened to it. It got put forth, and where it went from there, it didn't go anywhere. So no, it's just, to me, I don't know what to do when I get this love letter from Bernie Sanders saying this is what will be the solution to a war on your human class of human beings. But none of my people can put that on the table or talk about it for 5 years or another 5 years, because I'm running for president again, and none of our people can get honest about that. There's something not right there. There's something wrong with that. You don't get a flip-flop like that and then everybody say that's okay. That's being two-faced. And I don't, you don't get to call us injured workers seeking minimum federal oversight liars and what else? Crazy is the other thing. It can't be done when none of you want to get honest and keep telling the truth, like Senator Sanders told us the truth in 2015. But remain silent ever since then. There's something. Senator Sanders told us to call him out, not pat everybody on the ass for all lying to us and telling us, gee, we can't get honest. Well, it's not politically right, which is a lie. It's a myth that if you get honest about workers' comp, you can't get elected. You can do it and get elected. You just won't get put in by biz whores. You would be put in by the people. I'm done for right now. It doesn't do any good. I only got like one viewer. Not that one viewer is good, though. It's just frustrating that here I put all this time to try to help others. And that's all I did for the 15 years I did as I worked at the nurse at the University of Washington, was try to help others and report and blow a whistle on the harm to us that's happening and the need for minimum federal oversight. And in 2015, I was given a letter that said, gee, that's right, Darren, you're telling the truth here. But yet I went to Berniecrats with that letter, and they told me to go away with it. We're going to fight for Medicare for all and I-1600 in Washington State, which they lost on. So they went through a whole election cycle, didn't get honest about the war on injured workers, didn't get honest about our need of federal oversight, and lost on I-1600 single payer. Why wouldn't any injured worker in the state of Washington be disgusted with people who keep telling us it can't be done and you can't get honest about it? Nothing's going to get fixed if everybody is dishonest about it. And it's frustrating as an injured worker who's done everything he can to get help, and he even has his mental health people, the management at CMAR, My mental health people here in the state of Washington don't want to get on us, and they're in bed with Ortiz Self, represent state Democratic state Senator Ortiz Self, who's one of my local little Democrats around here, who also peeked into our broken workers comp page, learned just enough to find out what us injured workers were up to and what we were all about, who was with who and who's not with who. And it was basically just a mission to, and I think, she wanted to try to see what she could do at a state level, I'm sure, but what she could do more at a state level is just get on us and tell people like Rick Larson on the federal level that, hey, we need some federal oversight over here, and you need to help us get that. We're not going to get that. Why can she step up and fight for? Why can our state lawmakers tell us we can fight for Medicare for all? We can fight for a national federal minimum wage. All of those things they can ask for that for, but for injured workers, minimum federal oversight for all of us, they can't do that. Just a second, I'm going to check on something here. I got surveillance in my place, and so I got to watch the back door all the time. But anyways, it's really disgusting. I just can't understand, and I hope this other injured worker has the foresight and intelligence enough to turn our broken worker site back on, so that the other 300 people that were a part of that group can sit there and listen to me rage or not rage. That was their choice to leave, not your choice to shut down my group, Victoria. It was Victoria. And that is egregious. I have allowed you to be part of my group. I helped you get your state and your little court case ideal heard by others. But when I want my Fed oversight to be amplified and heard about, you want me closed out on that. And then you use the excuse because I used the word biz whore on you as you poo-pooed my federal oversight as you're bragging about the state fucking lawmakers helping us out here for once. It was almost as if, though, this other injured worker, Victoria, had planned to entice me so that she could bait me and so that she could say, good, I'm going to take your page away, because I let her know the other day when she was wanting to kick somebody else out that she didn't approve of, which I never do. I never kick anybody out of our revolution group unless they asked me. There was one guy in over like a 5-year period said, could you kick me out? And I can't figure it out. Blah, blah. I said, fine, I'll help you on your way to the door. I also told this lady, Victoria, about a month ago, when I started getting this intuition that she's not going to fight for my federal oversight here. When I started getting the sense that since I had this paper from the U.S. Congressional Research Service, the 2019 report telling us everything I've been saying is true, I thought she'd say, oh, right, Darren, that's awesome. Let's run to our lawmakers. Let's call everybody out. No, she's not doing that. Because she's saying, Darren, your Fed oversight, we can't get it. It's not possible. The same thing Tyler Vega and Jason Call and all of them, all the Berniecrats are telling me here in the state of Washington. So it's like as almost she was here to part of their group with this other lady, Bad Faith Insurance or something, here from the state of Washington. I don't remember what the lady's name was anymore. I talked to that lady on the phone at one point. She said, oh, yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for helping her. And she went on a radio show with the lady that was running for U.S. Senate here in the state of Washington with Gigi Ferguson. And I had turned down Gigi Ferguson because I didn't want to go on her radio talk show was Moral Mondays that her and Reverend Biber and all that crowd is running. She was only inviting me on there so that she could use me like she used this injured worker to push for Medicare for all and I-1600, single payer I-600, which they all lost on. And they will never get here in the state of Washington because we have will never approve income tax here in the state of Washington because we don't have a state income tax here in the state of Washington. We never have, and that's one thing. One of us that the people here will never allow to happen. So it's egregious that we're spinning these people's tails to chase their tails around to get I-1600 that they know they're not going to get when they won't stand up and tell us the truth about the needed minimum federal oversight for the injured workers Senator Sanders himself told us we need. But if Vicky Tolbert, injured worker, is going to close me out on my own Facebook page, then I have no other alternative to start taking to another avenue to get our voices heard, which will be YouTube and through music and song on to the internet. I have some other avenues to get my voices heard, not just Facebook. And Yes, I have been kicked off Twitter, and I have been kicked out of Likton, and now injured worker Vicky seemed to want to kick me out, get my broken workers comp shut down so nobody can hear me. She knows I call everybody pretty much a fucking biz whore if you don't stand up and fight for federal oversight. And she knew damn well that that's what I would say, and to use that as an excuse when she knows that's part of my fucking psychosis to start with. That was I was never cussing and all that shit, and she knows that before workers comp. So to use that as an excuse to try and silence me and shut out my whole group because she doesn't want anybody else in the workers' comp community to hear from Darren Fonso or any of all the posts that any of the other injured workers made and all of that was shared with other lawmakers and like I said, politicians, the work comp community, you name it. All my shit's being watched across the nation. My voice is getting heard across the nation. When Victoria, apparently you were working behind closed doors with state lawmakers to do just little state fixes because you're not interested and it's not doable standing up and speaking up and getting loud for our injured workers needed minimum federal oversight. I am tired of people who hide behind Facebook and hide behind these little boards, but yet they can't get up on YouTube and speak out, or even on Facebook. You could do a live video chat and tell us what the hell's really going on. I don't hide behind surnames. I don't hide behind any bullshit like that. I speak truth. And it's egregious when Berniecrats don't want the truth told that Senator Sanders told us we need, and that the U.S. Congressional fucking Nonpartisan Research Committee is also telling us we need today. There's no excuse for the right or the left to not stand up and fight for minimum federal oversight at this point. And I'm not sure who I'm talking to here, but somebody's there. I don't know. I don't know where to go anymore. It's just what more can you do? I've called out Rick Larson and slapped him around in front of the public. I've called out state. That's another thing that she says. What good is your yelling and doing and screaming? Well, what good is not doing it? Bowing down to state fixes while we're not getting our federal fix for all of our brothers and sisters across the nation. It's kind of bullshit. Just asking for Medicare for all when you know that the Section 801 of the bill is excluding our injured workers just like they did in Canada, but yet you can't stand up and demand, hey, we need to speak up for these injured workers. It's if you can't stand up and fight and get loud about the needed minimum federal oversight, then you're not helping any of us with your little court cases and your little other alternative state fixes. Any alternative solutions to the needed federal oversight are just that. They are alternative solutions, whether they're given from the right or whether they're coming from the left. Those are the alternative solutions. We don't need alternative solutions. We need to do what the United States Congressional Research Service, the smart people from both sides, have told us we need done. It's probably Dina listening to me. And that's the other thing that's so frustrating. Here I am, a liberal, fighting to get liberals doing what the liberals told us we need to do, and I'm called a Republican, and it's just, and then it's too confusing. I don't know how I can even go on and fight anymore. Anyways, that's what they want me to do, though. They want the guy who's asking for the federal oversight to shut up and go away, because none of them want to get honest and tell us what we all truly need. And when you go through this generationally and you're affected, that's what I say. I went through this as a child as well. I saw my father be just like me. Only he was a little worse. That's how the fucking sliced arm came off. But anyways. No. I'm not going to allow one injured worker or the Berniecrats to sit around and tell me we don't need what we need, or tell me it's not doable, that you got to fear Republicans when you turn around and tell me to vote for Republicans like Scott Stefani, or Reform LNI Hectors wants me to vote for some other guy. I can't remember his name, some Republican. I don't remember, Caldwell or something. Is something not right about that? When we're all wanting federal oversight, you tell us the Republicans are stopping you from fighting for our federal oversight, and then you tell me to vote for a Republican. It's just not right about it. Even if you're a Republican, you can see that this scenario, there's something not right and there's something fishy with it. It's not just a conspiracy theory. And then that's another thing. This other injured worker, Victoria, said, you need to go go see your mental health person about some meds. She knows I'm trying to get CMAR Mental Health Administration and Senator Ortiz Self to get honest about the war on the 400 union farm workers and all the rest of us, and tell us that we need minimum federal oversight, not keep fucking dangling state fixes in front of us, which this state fix would be a great one that they're trying to give us. I have admitted that. That's what I started out with. I'm saying that there's nothing wrong. It's fine, but let's not let that distract us from calling out those same state lawmakers like Mike Sells and Karen Kaiser, I think is her name, Senator Karen Kaiser. They're on our labor committee, both Democrats. They need to get honest and tell us about our needed federal oversight as much as they're fighting for these other state remedies. And I do see my state lawmakers trying to do some state remedies here in the state of Washington because somebody has kept a boot up their ass for the last 5 years. And that somebody wasn't Victoria. That was somebody happened to be Darren Fonseau. Injured workers that other people want to laugh at because he says we need minimum federal oversight, and then the other injured workers go around and say, oh, don't listen to him, he's crazy, he wants federal oversight, it's not doable, it'll never happen, he's just a GED, and look at us, we used to be intelligent workers, we were highbrow learners, we were high earners. Oh, you're all so proud of yourself and your little fucking paper on the wall. But you can't see through the Berniecrat, our revolution being led around by Republican fucking bizmen to fail America's injured workers instead of stepping up and getting our voices heard and getting the minimum federal oversight on the table here in the state of Washington so that the other Berniecrats across this nation would also pick up the fight and fight for all of us. And if we can't get it done while Trump or the Republican administration is in there, we can at least educate people for the next 4 fucking years if he wins. That's a big if on both sides. Either way, we, the injured workers, need to be educating all the rest of America about our need of federal overfix. Don't tell me about fucking we gotta do the dishes and the fucking laundry at the same fucking time when the house is on fucking fire. And we need a fire hose, a federal fire hose, to put out the fucking state work comp fires. I hate that analogy. Victoria, the Berniecrat, seems to want to tell me that, that whole scenario has never flown with me from the get-go. And to infiltrate our broken workers' comp site. And I always wondered, well, why isn't she saying hooray, Darren? Oh, that's awesome, Darren. Oh, they called for federal oversight? A nonpartisan group? That's awesome, Darren. We can use that to go demand that we get justice from Washington state lawmakers. No, she didn't do that. Busy pushing state court, busy pushing state fixes, busy pushing we need to sue the little state on the state level. Same thing with the Reform LNI. We got to have a state fix, not a federal fix there, and it can't be done. We got to fear the Republicans. Oh, but we can vote for one of your guys as candidates that are Republicans for governor. Scott Stefani and the other guy, Caldwell, or I don't know what the other guy's name is. There's something not right with that scenario. And I know other injured workers have fought for 30 years trying to get the Democrat liberal left to speak up and help us. Like, Willig and a lot of these other lawyer firms and across the nation. I know some people like Dina Padilla have gone back to Washington, D.C. and even spoke up on the need for the minimum federal oversight. And these are people that are politically my opposites that are Republicans that are also telling me I need this. So it's curious that when my liberals are telling me I got to fear Republicans because they will never allow it to happen, and you use that as the excuse for not helping the Dina Padillas of the world or the Darren Fonseos as we speak out. And it doesn't matter if we're right or left. We're screaming for help here. We're screaming for what the United States Congressional Nonpartisan Congress Service has told us we need. I mean, it's not. It's beyond us injured workers. It's beyond Senator Sanders saying we need it. Like, what's their name? Injured Amazon worker Shannon Allen likes to say, I wouldn't vote for Senator Sanders. Well, he was one of the only ones to get honest about the need of minimum federal oversight. Yet he's been a silent, arrogant whore ever since. But nonetheless, one of them at least got honest. Baca was honest in 2009. But still, we won't. And why could we do it in 2009 when it was a kind of a half-assed Republican-controlled Congress then at the point they were taking over? We could try and push it through then when you knew you would lose on it. Why not fake us out again? Put it through and try and see and lose on it now. At least you educate people about the subject, telling people to shh, be silent, don't speak up. And those of us who need this federal oversight, that we're crazy. And I don't know what else. I don't know what we do, and I know I am. I've been declared that 2 times triplicate or whatever. But why wouldn't I be? When I'm told my Fed oversight, I mean, my federal government tells me what my state government is failing me, and everybody who's supposed to step up and help us and sound the alarm to that harm and put the solution on the table that would remedy that harm from being done, none of them are doing that. And of course, how could I not? Fucking be insane at this point. It's just, but what I'm glad, is that I do seek mental health. And the mental health treatment therapist later and got her degree. But anyways, she's telling me to rock on and keep calling these people out. Of course, not to make them threats and try not to call them dirty biz whores. But on the other hand, if they're not going to step up and represent us, she knows why I'm screaming and I'm yelling and calling people biz whores. Is because the ones who should be stepping up and helping us are not. And they're telling us it's not doable. Your intellectual, superior political snobs being led around by bizmen by the fucking nose, telling you all which way to jump. And it's egregious when injured workers cry for all your help, and all you Berniecrats can act like intellectual freaking snobs and tell us it can't be done. It's not doable. Then why did Senator Sanders tell us we need it in the first fucking place? Sorry about the FU. We're being flim-flammed here. We're being fucking lied to. And nobody in the United States of America wants to step up and represent the injured workers of America. I'm trying. I'm getting my voice heard where I can. That's why this mental health therapist, she said, Darren, that you are being heard. You're like water on a like water. You're everywhere. So even when you try to, I'm like one of those whack-a-moles. They try to close me out of one place, I pop back up somewhere else. That's what you got to do when there's a so-called revolution or make America great again. None of that's going to happen for either side if you don't get honest with America's injured workers. To lie to the weakest links in the chain and leave them behind is no way to make America great again. Or what's the other one? What's the other one? I forget what it is. A revolution. Yeah, you're not doing either one if you leave the injured workers behind. And if you're not calling out lawmakers, state and federal, for not standing up and fighting for our minimum federal oversight, is you're patting on the back and saying, hooray, look at what our state lawmakers did. When those very same lawmakers are the same ones I've been begging for help from now for 8 years, like Mike Sells, Karen Kaiser, who I call on the phone, who was about ready to call security on me because I'm calling her out on the needed minimum federal oversight because she can't run her mouth and get honest about human beings harmed across this nation because she's too concerned, like Marilyn Chase, Senator Marilyn Chase. I can't remember. I don't know if she's still in office or not, but when she was, she told me she was more concerned about the small business community and the small boat business community, to be more in particular. It's yeah, that's probably true. They don't want to get honest about injured workers, that I do know. But neither does the other side. Neither side wants to get honest about a war on injured workers. And that's what needs to happen. And then until everybody gets on the same page of saying we need some help, we need some federal help here, and that's why it's so frustrating. When, like I say, you can't have the United States Congressional Research Service, which is nonpartisan, which was smart folks from the Republican side and some smart folks from the Democratic side, not just that side from our United States Congression or Congress people. It was their aides and their helpers that got together and come back and put their heads together and told us we need this minimum federal oversight. So for either side to make any excuses for not wanting to fight for that minimum federal oversight is egregious at this time. I don't know what more I could do, but my main question for this one was for Tyler Vega of the Washington State Berniecrats in our revolution here. And he's also running for U.S. Congress, Tyler Vega, and Jason Call for Congress or whatever. If I just don't understand, it's not logical to me what you guys are all doing, and it's just not right. You can't tell us this is a solution, but then all of you tell, oh, gee, we can't put that solution on the table. You can't tell me, have Senator Sanders and Patty Murray tell us this is the solution to stopping a war on America's injured workers, but gee, none of us can touch that. We used to be able to screw injured workers across America because weren't able to share and connect with one another. Now we're able to share with one another, share our stories with one another, and also share with just what's going on here right now that I have been seeking out for the Berniecrats in the state of Washington to get honest about the federal oversight that Senator Sanders said we need, only to be told I have to fear Republican administration. Yet, in their next breath, they tell me, vote for our Republican-endorsed Berniecrat. Let that one sink in. A Republican-endorsed Berniecrat. He's actually a log cabin Berniecrat, or a log cabin Republican. Whatever. It's just egregious when the people who should be standing up and fighting for me as a liberal here in the state of Washington and get our voices heard on the needed federal oversight are failing to do so. The same as the Democratic apparatus has failed people like Dina Padilla, who have been fighting for 30 years, who is on the other side of the fence politically from me. But like I say, me and her can agree on the minimum federal oversight. It's frustrating. Anyway, basically, I'm calling out Tyler Vega and Call for Congress and Gigi Ferguson. I don't know if she's even in the game anymore. Pramila Jafala. There you go, baby. What's up with our minimum federal oversight? And it's just egregious. How can you tell me, oh, we can't do it, we can't fight for that, and then be hanging out with these Berniecrats that are telling me to vote for a Republican like Scott Stefani? Something's just not right there, man. And I just don't understand it. It's just not. I don't see how I can This is why I seek mental health, and I'm glad I do. But I'm also a pacifist at heart, and so therefore. It's egregious to me that this is allowed to go on, and other people try to poo-poo those of us who are fighting for the federal oversight instead of standing up and helping us get what we need. Adds insult to injury to the injured workers who do know we need this federal oversight. You're not helping other injured workers when you tell us it's not doable. You can't get it. Be proud of the little state fixes we're getting for you. Well, you sound just like the fucking Alec Bizman that are trying to erode away our grand bargain to start with. And if you study and learn about injured workers, you'll figure that out.